Welcome to Real Estate Real World, where we talk to the movers, shakers, and leaders that are getting it done right now in the real estate industry and beyond. I'm your host, Marguerite Crespillo, and I started this podcast simply dedicated to calling people about what's really happening in this crazy roller coaster ride of real estate. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and stay up to date on the newest stuff by adding yourself to the list at www.realestaterealworld.com. Now, let's dive into the world of real estate. Hey, everybody. Guess what time it is? It is time for Real Estate Real World, where we get to talk to all the cool people and a few crazy people, I'm here to tell you, which does include one of my very, very good friends who is our guest today. Let me introduce you to Mr. Wellington. Actually, he goes by Beef, but his true name is Wellington Pendell. I don't know if that's actually public record. It is. Meet the man they call real estate's most offensive speaker. I can attest to that. Beef Wellington Pendell, the man that DRE loves to hate. Beef pulls no punches in showing you how to annihilate your competition. Face to face, he addresses more California real estate agents annually than anybody else. With almost 30 years in the game, Beef has coached, trained, or mentored over 100,000 agents. Want 7% commissions, a weekly listing, a dominance in your hunting area? Beef's got you covered with techniques unheard of by other coaches. If you're ready for a no-nonsense, bare-knuckled coach delivering results beyond any in the market, Beef is your man. Just remember, leave your sensitive feelings at the door, and that is a true story. Welcome, my friend Beef.
Well, thank you, Barry. Thank you very much. Am I frozen? Oh, there I am. I was like this for a minute. So hello, everybody. How are you? Thank you. That's quite an introduction. You know, I was joking with Marguerite before we went on. It's like, I hope the introduction that they wrote for me wasn't too flattering. Nope, it isn't. There's nothing flattering about that whatsoever. Fantastic. Well, right back at you, everybody. Good to see everybody. I'm glad everybody's here. And how is real estate?
So, you know, I'm gonna dive backwards a bit because I met Beef in I want to say around 2013 or 14. I don't remember exactly, but it was quite a while ago, and it's when I was transitioning from our independent brokerage. We were preparing to close it down, and I was going to focus more of my time and attention in training. And I saw Beef at one of his Career Compass events, which he does throughout the state of California. And he dragged me up on stage. I don't completely remember how all this went down, but he dragged me up on stage. We had a great time. And we had kind of like this little spat on stage, so to speak, because we have a tendency to agree to disagree on some things. And it was a lot of fun. And so then we ended up touring for a while, and we're doing events together and some trainings together. And then life got busy, and, you know, we ended up going different directions. But it's been fun to watch him in what he does, because I do have to say this, and it's not easy for me to compliment this man, but he is truly the best salesman that I think I've ever seen in my life. He can sell ice to the Eskimos for sure. And in a way where you don't even really realize you're being sold. He's fantastic at what he does. You are a fantastic presenter. And I'm always amazed at what you're able to do in the room. But what's fun to watch too is how many great agents you have brought together and collaborated with to be able to share, you know, their top tips and top secrets and things that, frankly, 99% of the agents aren't doing out there. But it's possible, right? For, you know, I say all the time, a great agent will do well in any market. But the market right now it's changing. I mean, I've been 31 years in this industry, and it's been pretty wild ride. And I've seen a lot of changes in my career. But right now things are pretty wonky. So I guess I'm more interested in your opinion of what's happening, you know, with all the lawsuits and the newest thing with the, you know, clear cooperation and kind of what's going on. The other compass, as you call them, the other compass. So let's dive in. And just, I'm going to pre-warn you guys, whenever I introduce Beef and I go speak with him, I have to put a warning out there that he absolutely will offend just about everybody out there. So if you are a sensitive soul, I encourage you, you might not want to listen to this episode, or you may want to, and we're going to be having to filter the comments, I'm sure. So let's dive in and be ready, everybody, for a fun conversation.
Well, thank you, Marguerite. I appreciate those kind words. And for everybody who's listening, the reason that I literally beg and plead Marguerite to come to every single Career Compass event that I can get her at is because her way of doing real estate is very, very, I don't want to use the word counter, okay, or opposite. It's almost complementary, but it's very, very different. And I think that if a realtor had the tools and techniques that a Career Compass provides, along with the theoretical way of handling your business from a relationship standpoint that Marguerite teaches, in my opinion, if you had those two things, you're unstoppable, because those are the two different schools of thought when it comes to real estate. Is, do you do a transactional? Do you do a relational? Do you do both? And I've always been the kind of guy, and especially now because everybody has equity. So everybody's most important thing right now is how much money you're going to put in their pocket, which kind of runs counter to the whole relationship thing. Because for the last 40 years, we've had a situation where if you had the relationship with the seller, you got the listing because relationships are the most important thing. Well, they are. They have been the most important thing. But I think realtors who are in the 9 to 12% that are dominating right now in the market, the reason is because they're focusing on things that are more monetary. So if you have the relationship, which is kind of the Marguerite view of things, and then you have the tools and techniques, which is the Career Compass view of things, and you combine those two, that I don't think there's anybody in the market that could beat you, not in a listing presentation, selling, negotiating, closing, getting higher commissions, or anything else like that. So that's why I always have her at the seminar, because she gives such a, she gives the, what we did, Marguerite, we called it the soft side versus the hard side. So I'm the hard side and Marguerite's the soft side. And you know, you can be a successful realtor on either side. But the thing is, if you've got both, you're going to be a tough person to beat, because Marguerite does it herself, because she's the soft side. And even when she does business, she still incorporates things like the 7% technique, the EAT, the PAT, the lawyer letter, and all these things into her own business. So she's a perfect example of the kind of realtor that everybody wants to be. So anyway, thank you for those words. And let's talk about current stuff.
You know, it's interesting because, as you mentioned, I have a very relationship-based business and have for, all of my career. But the last few years, things are changing a bit with social media and some of the ways that people are doing things. And I actually heard an interesting stat this morning at our team meeting that 59% of consumers will, even if you have been referred to them, will Google your name. So they'll go look up your name and they'll look at your reviews, and they look at, your experience. They'll Google your name and they'll actually look to see, hey, how is this agent doing? Right. And so social media has definitely changed the game in some positive ways and some challenging ways. In my opinion, what has happened more in our industry over the years, in a good way, is that things have become much more transparent, right? And now, you've got reviews online, you've got access to people's information, you've got, different ways to highlight things, complain. Like, you got to be so careful what you post on social media now, because, I learned a long time ago, I don't talk about politics, religion, or COVID on social media. You can't. It's a no-win conversation, no matter what side you're on. I don't care what you believe. It's a no-win conversation. And you'll see people go in these, good neighbors of input your local city groups, and in those groups they're complaining about all kinds of stuff. They're complaining not just about our industry, they're complaining about the taco stand on the corner, and they're complaining about somebody who drove past and flipped them off, or I don't know what, but they're complaining about they're complaining about everything in ways, and positive too, but they're complaining about things in ways that you would never do in person. Right. Mm-hmm. And so, our industry is definitely taking a hit in some positive ways and some negative ways. The lawsuits last summer, in my opinion, which the ones we're referencing had to do with the class action lawsuit by sellers about how commissions were dispersed. First of all, here in California, which is where I'm located, we are very ahead of the curve. We have amazing contracts. We've been writing things that way for many, many, many years. This was no shock or surprise to us in California. The rest of the country, not so much. They're not quite as, proactive on some of these things. Some of the areas are still, writing old school handwritten contracts, which is, again, fine. You can literally buy a house with a contract on a napkin, but the contracts have changed. And to me, when the lawsuits happened, that was the best thing ever, because I've always done buyer presentations. I've always sat down with clients and expressed my view. So it was no different for me. It didn't change anything for me. And I'm seeing that also now with the newest battle that's, I'm sure, going to become a class action lawsuit. I'm positive of it. It's going to become lawsuits in some way, is the clear cooperation policy, which, for those who don't know what clear cooperation is, our MLSs, our National Association of Realtors, our MLSs, created a database system that says that we are going, as an agent, when I list your home, I'm going to cooperate with other agents in the community and other people in the area. And I'm going to put all of that data inside an MLS system for a few reasons. Number one, so the data is consistent, meaning, in other countries, you could go to Spain, for example, and in Spain, they have no system. So it's kind of like commercial, if you've ever dealt with commercial real estate. They don't have a centralized database. So they do what are called open listings, which means you could have 10 different agents or 10 different people all list the same property and not have consistent data. One person could say it's a 4-bedroom, one says it's a 3, one says it's 2,000 square feet, another one says 1,800 square feet. One's got it priced at 500,000, another one's got it 550. So our MLS system, as janky as it can be sometimes, does create consistency. And now we've got this whole battle where Compass, not the Career Compass, Compass Real Estate Company, is wanting exclusive listings, which they've done for quite a while. And interestingly, the stats that I saw coming from our CEO, Leo Pareja, is that 22% of their deals were double-ended. Now, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I would venture to say that if a property sells off market and they're double ending it, that the consumer might not have gotten the best possible deal they could have gotten. It's possible they could. There are circumstances. There are situations where, like I had some elderly clients and it was a hoarder's house, and, mentally they were not in a position to get the house cleared and get it ready and be able to put it on the market. They chose to take an off-market offer. But after a significant conversation and lots of advice saying, this is not how you're going to make the best amount of money, right? Like, here's some options if you want to. So it's kind of all a hot mess right now again. And I think it's going to end up in litigation again for sure. But I'm going to let you take off on your tangent on this. Go for it, Beef.
Oh boy, what a tee up. Okay, first off, Compass Brokerage, again, no affiliation to the Career Compass. Again, there's the Career Compass, California-based real estate training and continuing education company. Awesome. And then there's the Compass Brokerage out of the East Coast, which is one of the largest brokerages on the East Coast. Okay, they're wrong. Marguerite's right. I'm right. They're wrong. And did I mention that they're wrong? And let me tell you why they're wrong. Okay, they're doing this for very selfish reasons. I'm going to lay it out very, very clearly. Okay, and don't get me wrong. They may see this and they may go, oh, Beef sucks. Career Compass sucks. Hey, you know what? That's fine. I think if I was going to do lunch and learns in their offices, which I may do because I do it for everybody else, I'm going to tell them straight face right now, you need to get rid of your exclusive policy on non-cooperation. First off, it's part of the NAR. Okay. And I'm not getting the NAR yet. I know that they're in big, big trouble, and maybe we all want them to be in big, big trouble, depending on whether you like them or hate them. I don't know. But point being is, here's the thing. If you were going to do an auction, okay, that's basically what houses are. People bidding on houses, and the best and highest and most, basically the seller can pick whoever they want to buy the house based on their own needs. Okay, so that's just it. Do you think you're going to get a higher and better price if there's a lot of people at the auction or a few? There's no way you can make the case that you're going to get a better deal, higher price, more for your house, drive equity up, improve the economy, improve comps, improve the else if you have an exclusive listing. You're not going to, because you're cutting out every single buyer's agent. And the basis of most of the Career Compass's training is based on healthy, legal patriotic competition driving prices up, because as realtors, that's who we are, and that's what we should be doing. Our fiduciary responsibility. This is why I've always hated the 2.5 system that everybody does. It sucks, because here's why. Whenever you have a system that does that, you basically erode the equity just a little bit. But when you have things like the 7% technique, the EAT, the PAT, and all these other things that help drive the price up, you as a realtor, your responsibility is to drive the price of your listing as high as it can go. Well, Beef, but that means the buyer didn't get a good deal. I don't care about the buyer. I'm talking about the listing agent and the seller.
Yeah,
if
right.
you were a listing agent, your fiduciary responsibility is to the seller, not to the buyer. Now, when you're a buyer's agent, we'll talk about that too, because we have techniques to teach you how to be the best buyer's agent and the best listing agent. But right now, since we're talking about Compass and the shenanigans they're playing for their own benefit, not the benefit of the seller, their own, okay, we're going to talk about doing things that benefit your seller. That is your job. Your job in a nutshell is to sell the house for the most money, the quickest, okay, to drive comps in the area up, so your client goes all over the neighborhood telling all their friends and neighbors about what a great listing agent you are, and whatever you do, if you're going to sell your house, call Marguerite Crespillo. Get it? So not only are you improving the economy, because all these iBuyers, they screwed the economy, because they were all buying houses for less than their comps. What do you think that does? Right. That erodes everybody's equity. So point being is to drive the comps up, improve the economy, improve the price, and put the most money in your seller's pocket. How do you do that? The 7% technique and other things that we teach. Now, back to Compass. Here's what they're doing. Compass isn't solvent, in my opinion. I'm going to say this one, gets sued. They're not solvent, because here's why. They rely on agent count. Okay, they rely on agent count. And what's happened to their agent count in the last year and a half?
Well,
okay, I'm dying. That's exactly
not just agent count, though. They also have a significant investor base. Okay. So they're trying to impress the investors.
$1.6 billion in leveraged debt before their IPO. That's a big problem. So they're okay. And if you went ahead and did an analysis, I'm just going to guess at this. This is a guess. Once again, they're lawyers. I'm going to guess that if you liquidated Compass, the brokerage, it wouldn't cover the stock price. Now, what does that mean? That means they're not solvent, which means they need to recruit. That's their number one thing right now. Everybody's recruiting. People are calling Career Compass office all day long because we do, recruiting events and lunch and learns and stuff like that. And by the way, if you want one for your office, give us a call. We'll be happy to do it for you. There's no cost. So here's the thing. They need to recruit right now because they need to cover their solvency, and they need to cover their agent count that they've lost, because everybody's lost agents. So what do you do? Okay, just like Marguerite and I were talking about the other morning when I was having coffee with her, is they need to recruit agents. And how do they do it? Well, let's think about this. We're Compass, so we're going to go ahead and take all of our listings and make them exclusive and not share them with the MLS and not do any kind of shared cooperation. Because if you're an agent, hey, come over to Compass. You can double end more often. You can make more commission because we're going to control our listings. Well, that might be good for Compass, but it isn't good for the seller. And that's the problem. So let's go ahead and take that idea and shift it, okay, over to, I don't know, the MLS, the DOJ, and everything else that's going on. Because here's what's happening. Think about this for a second. You've got a situation where there's no more commissions on the MLS, right? So what's everybody doing? Everybody's going, well, I'm just going to go ahead and list the house for my 2.5 or 3% on the listing side and wait for offers to come in and see where they are and negotiate the buy side commission. If you're doing that, okay, I want you to ask yourself a question. What is your value? Because what could you be doing? You could be offering a very healthy buy-side commission paid for by the seller, driving the price up and getting every buying agent in the world lined up at your house. And that's a little preview on the 7% technique and the 7% extreme technique, which is like magic these days. I mean, how would you like to open up your open house for 1 hour on Saturday and have every single buyer's agent holding the hand of their best cash buyers down the street waiting to get in your house? They get in your house and they start doing this with the price. That's how to do real estate. But think about this for a second. Just recently, let me just shift gears and add another thing in it, because Marguerite and I are talking about how we have this little cage match. Let's add Zillow into this. Now, we all read Inman the other day, and what is Inman insinuating? Now, again, if I misread this, then my conspiracy mind, here we go. Okay. Do you think Zillow might have eyes on becoming, ready, everybody? Right, here you go. Here goes. I'm going to offend everybody. The new MLS in the nation. Do you think? Think about this for a second. I want everybody to ask. Okay, I want you to ask a question. Okay, I want you to ask yourself this. So the DOJ disallows any commissions on the buy side on any realtor-owned MLS as of last August, which is Black August. Okay. Now they didn't specifically say that. NAR said that to appease the DOJ. You can talk about all the politics you want. So that happened. Question for you: if you're Zillow, why would you not immediately, if you really wanted to take over the industry, okay? And I know this is controversial stuff. We're all supposed to just be nice here, but check this out. If you're Zillow, what could you do? You could, in one fell swoop, you could basically take over the entire industry of real estate by doing two things. Number one, you get rid of the 7-year-old rule, because we all remember this. 7 years ago, you could still manually upload your listings into Zillow for your celebrity. You could keep it off the MLS, get your exclusion from MLS signed, okay? And you could keep it off the MLS, but I want it on Zillow so it'll syndicate, et cetera, et cetera. Years ago, you were able to manually upload your listings into Zillow. Now, if they got rid of that rule that you can't do that, because that's how it's been for the last 7 to 8 years. If you can't do that, and you can't do that right now, if they got rid of that rule where you could do it, you can do it. Plus, they said, you can also upload your buy-side commission into Zillow. Now, think about those two things. Zillow does those two things, and I'm not prognosticating anything here, and I'm not telling anybody this is how it's going to be. But if you want my opinion, think about Zillow's position. If they allowed manual uploads, thus a syndication to everything else, because think about it, folks, what does your seller really want? Do they really want it on the MLS? No, they want it syndicated to everybody out there, because who the hell cares about the MLS right now? It's even more worthless than it used to be, because now we don't even have commissions on the buy side. So they want it on Zillow and Trulia and everybody. They want it. So if you got rid of the rule, if you're Zillow, get rid of the rule that you can't manually upload your listing. So let's say you can now. And not only can you now, but you can also post your buy-side commission. In one move, within 24 hours, the MLS system, all of them, every single MLS system in this country is worthless. Because now there's no compelling reason to be a member, have a subscription, or pay MLS dues in any way, because everything that you have an MLS membership for or subscription for is being done by Zillow. Now, hold on. Okay, right. Here's the icing on the cake. Now, Zillow goes around because they need the historical data. Because Zillow, if you go through Zillow, you still see, okay, it sold back here 10 years ago, it sold here. So you always get that. But they need the historical data, because good agents like Marguerite Crespillo are going to do some research on this house and figure out what's going on and present that to the seller or the buyer, right? So they need that historical data, and they don't want to seem like the terrible ogres that they are. So now they go in and they go buy up all the MLSs at 10 cents on the dollar? No, a penny on the dollar. And now they own the MLSs, and they are the new MLS. Is this conspiracy theory stuff? It sure is. But who was saying this? Exactly what's happening right now. Who was saying this 5 years ago? Career Compass. And now it's all coming true. So, Marguerite, there's a conspiracy for you. Do you think it might happen? And do you think Zillow's in a position for that to happen? And now, ready for this? Here's your tee up, because you're going to be like, here we go. Okay, ready for this? Here's what Zillow is going to say if they haven't already said it, because I was talking to Brian Reifus the other day, really smart guy, owns 5 Remaxes down in San Diego. He's saying if Compass does what they're doing, okay, this is Zillow talking, okay, the little cage match they got going on, if Compass takes them exclusive, they will ban that listing from ever being put on Zillow in this whole scenario. Now, right. Think about that. Go ahead.
Well, that's part of it. I mean, Zillow has already said that if the listings are not uploaded within a certain amount of time, then they will now be banned for the life of the listing with that agent, right. Which means that those listings are going, if they can't get it sold, they're going to be motivated to go to another agent, because their property won't be able to get on the MLS or get anywhere with that same agent at Compass.
Well, that's a good question. Are they going to ban the agent's listing, or are they going to ban that property?
They're not banning the property. They're banning the agent attached to that property. So it's kind of twofold. Okay. So if I list a property and I do it off market, and I don't have the form signed that says that I have a reason for it being off market, and then I publicly promote it and publicly advertise it, which I'm not really clear how they're going to find these. I'm not clear on how that's going to work. But if I don't publicly market it on the MLS, and it's a coming soon, myself and that listing are banned from ever putting that property. That doesn't mean all properties. So I could go list a property down the street and put it on the MLS. I'm in compliance. Right. But otherwise, they're banning. And EXP, the company I work for, who I love, Leo Pareja, by the way, he's a badass. He's one of my favorite people on the planet. And he stepped right into this. I mean, he called a meeting for all of us last week. He goes, just want to let you know it's going to get loud out there. And he goes, I'm going very public, and here's what I'm going public about. And this was the whole, basically, EXP has said the same thing. If you're going to keep properties off the market, because he ran the numbers to check, Compass had 22% of their listings sold in-house. EXP had like 0.001. We had like out of 90,000 agents, we had less than 1,000 properties that sold off market. So, and again, there are scenarios where it makes sense. There are scenarios where people want to sell it off market, sell it to a relative, a friend, or, whatever the situation is. But in most situations, it's not in the consumer's best interest. So I don't know what's going to happen with an MLS system. I will say I'm not a huge fan of our National Association of Realtors. I feel like a lot of the stuff that Leo has been doing and saying this last year should have been done by NAR, right? We pay dues to them. It's their job and their responsibility to represent and protect us as real estate agents. And they're not, they've done a horrible job of that. And I've said that publicly. So if NAR gets wind of this, feel free to call me. But
have them call me too.
Yeah, have them call me. But it's interesting to me because, the thing with Zillow is Zillow has had access to, again, this is by fault of the NAR, has had access to all of our MLS data for years. That's how they compiled all this data. That's how they got it. That's how they get it now. How they get their data is a feed direct from us, right?
Yep.
And they get it with no strings attached. So it doesn't say, so not only do they get our data, they get to repurpose our data, then sell it back to us at a significant premium to get the business. So, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Zillow and what they've done, but they also, they're business people too. They're not stupid. But I think the new clear cooperation policy, we'll see where this shakes out. I don't know. What I see and what I've heard a lot of is, as you mentioned earlier, there's getting a further and further divide between small, tiny micro brokerages to the big guys, right? The big guns. And the people in the middle are going to get wiped out. So either you're small, independent, just you and a couple agents maybe, or just doing your own stuff, solo agent, or you got to go join one of the big kids, right? The people in the middle it's not sustainable. It's not going to be able to, I don't think they'll be able to survive. I mean, I know because I ran a brokerage of 120 agents. It is rough being a broker owner. And it was so rough that we shut our doors and said, not doing this anymore. And so it's interesting where this will go and where this will shake out. I'm just like, I have to remind myself all the time of my favorite quote. I'm in charge of my own economy. So I can't sit around and wait for them to all figure it out. I can't sit around and wait for everyone to, get off their high horses or, get in the middle of their pissing matches or whatever it is they're doing. I just have to keep my nose to the grindstone, focus on me, take great care of people and keep moving forward. But it's interesting times for sure. I've not seen this in my career and I'm fascinated. It's been interesting to watch. And we're going to have to see where it goes. I don't know. I wish I knew the answer.
I don't either. And I wish I did know the answer. And if the two of us don't know the answer, then nobody knows the answer because I get all my information from you. And so if you don't know it, I don't know it. But I'll tell you this. The people who are crushing it out there are doing things that realtors have never done before. And that's why Career Compass is packed every single time. That's why if you've got a great buyer agent presentation, if you are a great listing agent, if you know how to get higher commissions, if you know how to motivate, okay, guys, the last thing that you want to do is what everybody else is doing, which is list your house and hope for the best. Because I got news for you. People are going to fit with AI breathing down our throats, okay? With technology making not just like Marguerite said, not just everything easier, but more transparent. And now you not only, I remember the days of the bounded MLS book. You didn't know who the realtor market was. You didn't know the properties. You didn't know crap. Now you know everything. In fact, you have too much information now. So the agents who are doing well right now, and I see this over and over and over again, are doing things that other agents are not doing. The old traditional real estate is a great model, but it needs to have new creativity added to it, or you're going to get left in the dust. All I can say is if you're a real estate agent, learn some new processes, some new tools, techniques, systems. Okay. Systems, guys. What do I mean by a system? For example, the very first technique that we teach at the Career Compass Seminar. Okay. And the next one coming up, by the way, May 9th and 10th in Sacramento. And yes, Marguerite will be there. It's going to be awesome. Okay. And she's going to be part of our open bar. What do you think of that? It's going to be awesome. All right. So we're going to have an EXP open bar. So you need to be there. So anyway, is the deal a week technique. We teach this right up front because it basically shows you how to take advantage of one of the biggest emerging markets in real estate, which is the rental market. Just like Grant Cardone said, this is going to become a renter nation, unfortunately. Like these kids these days, these millennial and Generation Zs, they walk around like they rent the place. It's unbelievable, these kids, okay? They got their man buns, okay? And they got their degree from Berkeley and lesbian dance theory and all this.
Okay, come on back.
Anyway, so you got these kids, right? So this technique takes advantage of the fact that we have a rental market that is emerging and exploding in our society, basically, because it doesn't deal with the aging in place people. It doesn't deal with the fact that you got buyers pissing and moaning about interest rates. It doesn't mean any of this stuff. It actually takes advantage of what's really going on right now, which is non-owner occupies, and how you can get 5 transactions, 5, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, 5 in about 90 days on one property. Now, that's a technique that we teach right up front because it's working so well these days. If you don't know that one, please come to the Career Compass. Let us teach you that. Then we'll teach you the 7% technique and everything else like that. These are the kind of things that realtors are doing to really expand their business. And the reason that people like Marguerite are always going to be in business is because they incorporate new techniques, new processes, new systems into their old traditional, tried and true, excellent way of doing real estate. And that's what you need to do. Don't just rely on your sit around on your laurels. Learn some new stuff, incorporate it into what you already have, and be like Marguerite.
Well, I do have to say that, you definitely, the times call for people being creative. I remember saying about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, that we're going to see probably 30 to 40% of the industry go away. And we saw this back in 2008 and 2009 when the market crashed. We definitely saw people getting out of the business. I make the joke that all the people who got into the business, they piss off their family and friends and they're out within 2 years, right?
I love that one. I use that one as a seminar. It's fantastic.
Right. And we've already seen a significant decline. I mean, I saw some stats that said 77 or 78% of the agents last year, was it 73% last year, hadn't closed a deal at all in a year.
Was that by June or was that the entire year?
As far as I know, it was the entire year of 2024. Wow. They had not closed, a transaction. And so, and it's tough out there. I'm not going to lie. It's tough right now. I'm getting calls every day from agents that are like, maybe it's not for me. Maybe I need to go get a job. Maybe, I need to figure something out. And if you are one of those agents that are out there struggling, here's what I'm going to tell you. The gravy train is gone, which means that you need to effectively work 10 times harder than you've worked if you want to be able, and you need to get out there and get educated by the Career Compass or by different companies to learn some new techniques and some new strategies. And if you're not going to do that, if you're the agent who's just been sitting around and thrilled that the phone rang and sold a bunch of houses, you're not going to survive. I mean, the truth is, Beef, we have an entire generation right now of real estate agents and frankly, consumers who since 2010 have only seen low interest rates and climbing values.
Yep, for 20
so
years.
That last 15 years, even consumers, they bought their house and 2 years later, they sold it for $100,000 more, right?
Yep.
And now it's like, okay, we're having a little come to Jesus meeting and things are changing. Interest rates are higher, but they're not high. I mean, when I started in real estate, they were 10%. We were happy to get it, and people who are sitting around waiting for it to go back to 2%, I don't think that's happening ever, at least not for a long time, unless our market totally crashes and goes to hell in a handbasket, which means it's hell for everybody, right? Same thing with prices. I get people all the time like, "Oh, I'm gonna wait till prices come down." Okay. So you're looking for the time when prices come down
I don't mean
and
to laugh,
interest rates
but
drop.
okay. Okay, ready for this?
And if
Here's
let me finish. And if
how right Marguerite is. The house across the street from me, right there, which is actually the same model as mine, and I'm here in wine country Temecula. Okay, the lady who owned it was a single mom and a lawyer for the city of Riverside or something like that. Bought it for exactly $1 million. You can look it up. It's right on Rothenberg Drive here in Temecula. Bought it for exactly $1 million, and that was 3 years ago. Okay. Now, what was happening 3 years ago? We had Biden. We still had high interest rates. I mean, 3 years ago was when the high interest rates hit. Okay. She just sold it. Across the street. Ready? 12225. 1225. Okay. 1.225. Okay. Ready? 225 grand above what she bought it for during a time when we have high interest rates. Prices ain't coming down, folks. They ain't coming down. Now, granted, it depends on the area. You got, different areas, of course. I mean, it's not that easy in Palmdale. Palmdale's a nice town. I was there for their melanoma festival, but it was a very nice thing. So my point is, okay, it depends on the area, but prices ain't coming down, folks. Tell your buyers that if they're waiting for prices to come down, they're going to be old and gray by the time they ever see any prices come down, and then it's still not going to come down. They again, marry the house, date the rate, buy now. Okay, take advantage of the fact that it's always going to go up. This is California. I mean, come on, let's be realistic here, and then get yourself a new rate after a few years of tough mortgage payments. At least you'll be in the market. Did you know that only 4%? You'll love this one, Marguerite. 4% of the population of California, just based on their income, that's if they have a savings account of 20% to put down, could buy a house without equity coming from another house. Think about that. We're down to affordability without equity of 4%. 96% of all the people in California, unless they have equity coming from another house, cannot buy the average house in California. There you go. That's rough.
Well, and it's definitely, and here's the reality. If rates do drop back down, like to the 2 and 3s, even if they get to 4, probably, here's what's going to happen. Prices are going to skyrocket. Because more people will be able to afford a home. So which do you choose, right? So it's kind of this catch-22 right now. But I have to say,
if rates came down in the next 2 years, you're going to see a 20 to 30% increase in prices, just like we had during COVID. Because guys, if you're in California, if you're in the California real estate, if you're in Alabama, okay, it's different. It's obviously Texas, because you can build in every direction. But California, you go west, okay, you're wet. Okay, you go south, you're speaking Spanish. You don't have a whole lot of places to build right there. Okay, so the demand is always going to be here. So if you're in California, folks, tell your buyers it ain't coming down. Okay, if you're waiting for interest rates, you're just going to get a higher price. So think about this. Let's say you waited for interest rates to come down. Let's say they did, just like Marguerite said, it's 4%, right? Prices are going to skyrocket, so now your payment's going to be the same anyway, but you bought higher, so your equity's lower. Wrong. Okay, buy now. Buy now. If you can buy now, do it.
Yeah. And the bottom line is you need to buy when you can feel comfortable and afford the payment, right? Don't buy based on future potential for equity. That's like the equivalent of day trading in the stock market. Very risky, right? You buy when it makes sense for you and your family and you can afford the payment. And I mean, same thing with us. We bought our house 31 years ago, and 31 years ago, it was only 200 and some odd thousand. Right. It's gone up and down, obviously, over the years, but we've done okay after 31 years. So if you're buying a house to flip it, now is probably not the best time. If you're buying, unless the numbers are there. But if you're buying a house to live in,
buying a complete wreck and it's a complete dog, and you can still buy it, just like Bo Belmont or Bo Belmont from Bellwood Investment said, you're going to have to buy it with a 30% margin just to flip it effectively. Yeah. And those are tough to find. So if you're going to buy, if you're buying a house to flip, this may not be the time or the place to do that.
Yeah. So. Well, you know what? I have to tell you, Beef, we could probably chat all day. We have on many occasions. We've chatted for hours on end. But I was thrilled to have you as a guest on my show after all these years. I don't know how we didn't do this before now, but
we have. This is our second time.
Oh, well, I forgot. See, you're so memorable.
Hey, and I've had you on C4 4 or 5 times. And folks, I want everybody to know this. Okay, coming up. So I'm going to plug this because I want everybody to come to the Career Compass Seminar at the Hard Rock Hotel, May 9th and 10th. If you're in the Sacramento area and you know Marguerite, get your butt there, go with her, have a drink, have some fun, get your license renewed. We got that going on. Come back for Free for Life. It's all kinds of great stuff. We'll teach you all this kind of good stuff. Get up there. And we're going to, as we always do, always when we have Sacramento, we have Marguerite speak, and we have her speak at other ones too. So she's going to be talking. Brian Stevens from the National Real Estate Post is going to be speaking. We still got, the amazing Bill Kanoki and so many other great people. So get there, have some fun, have a drink, and take advantage of your real estate career. Okay, guys, all you have to do is go to The Career Compass. That's 3 words. The Career Compass, not Compass Brokerage. Heck with those people. TheCareerCompass.com. And come to the seminar. Marguerite's going to be there. You get to walk up. Marguerite, shake my hand, and she will do it.
Yes, I will definitely be there. And I encourage all of you out there, if you've not been to a Career Compass, if you're here in the state of California, come on out and check it out, because he is very entertaining, as you've already seen for the last few minutes. And he keeps you engaged for a couple days, and you'll get lots of great content that you can actually put into your business right now to make a difference. So thank you, Beef, for being here today.
Awesome. Thank you, Marguerite. Good luck, good selling. And I will see you in about 15 days, I think, something like that.
Yes, exactly. So thank you, everybody, for joining us again on Real Estate Real World, where we get to talk to all the cool people. Please go out and share on your social media. And if you feel so inclined, write me a great review so that we get pushed out further. And I encourage you to go out and do everything you can to learn how to do things differently in this world. If you would like access to my new client discussion checklist, you can click the link in the comments below. That is a client discussion checklist I've been using for 30 years, and I'm now sharing it socially. So be sure to check it out. Go out there and make it a great day and shine bright. Thank you for joining us today on Real Estate Real World, where we talk with masters and leaders in the real estate industry and beyond on how we can raise the bar in our industry. Please subscribe over on iTunes, and while you're there, be sure to give us a review. Your reviews encourage us and help others to find our podcast for show notes and hot topics on what's going on right now in our real estate industry. Also, hop on over to www.realestaterealworld.com and add your name to our email to get early advance notice of upcoming podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and go out there and be a part of the elite masterclass and raising the bar on the real estate industry.